half an hour, and that would relax the cords.
You know,
and,
my doctor said that too. So.
Stand by, please.
Oops.
In 3,
Sorry.
2, 1.
Ah, Sigourney, it's always good to see you, truly.
Good to see you, too.
You know, sometimes we start out these interviews, it's good to see you. It's kind of part of it, you know, but truly it is good to see you.
I feel the same way.
Especially to talk about this film, Dave, which I'm going to say I love it.
Oh, great. Good.
It is such fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
provocative. It's it's got everything I think you need for a good film.
Oh, great, good. I feel the same way, but when I say it, it doesn't sound objective.
The casting is so good, and you've got to run for office. That's all there is to it.
Oh.
You look right in the White House.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you.
Have you ever been to the White House?
I actually went. I've been to a couple of the Kennedy Center evenings, which were quite exciting for the performing arts. But actually, when we were shooting in Washington, actually the day after the election, we took a tour of the White House, and I laughed because I felt quite proprietary. I was going and going, oh, well, that's very like our dining room, oh, that's very like our living room, And I was surprised because our scenic designer, Michael Reeve, did such a great job that, in fact, I felt that I'd lived there for 3 months.
Which First Ladies have you met?
Well, I guess I've met Mrs. Kennedy Onassis. I've met Mrs. Reagan. I haven't met Mrs. Bush. I guess that's it, those two. So not many, but...
And not Mrs. Clinton?
No, I'd love to meet her. I think she's terrific. I write to her. I'm trying to get the White House interested in Maurice Sendak's National Children's Theater, so actually I write her about once a week. She's going to think of me as a real pest, but I'd love to meet her. I think she's doing a great job.
Were the First Ladies you met anything like you thought they would be?
Well, I don't think that meeting a First Lady you can tell anything about them, because the public profile is going to be so different, probably, from the personal profile. I mean, it must be just, it's hard enough as someone in movies to sort of, the image seems so important to people, and in fact, it's very inaccurate. But I think for a First Lady, there's such a high standard of decorum and discretion and never being able to say what you really think and always smoothing things over, that it's an impossible job. So I wouldn't expect to see a real person when I meet them. They're doing their job, really.
Did the image of any First Lady influence your portrayal?
I think Eleanor Roosevelt and Pat Nixon, actually. Pat Nixon was one of the greatest First Ladies because she was such a wonderful emissary to people. Everywhere she went, she would hug people and embrace them, and she was extremely warm, and yet married to someone who had a very different persona from hers. And so there's something about her story, and I don't know much about it, so it's certainly not based on her. I just did the script, but it was helpful to me to read about her sort of common touch, because I think Ellen has the same quality.
And what was it about Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt?
Well, Mrs. Roosevelt, I think, had a kind of crisis in her marriage and realized that, in fact, she must live her own life, even if she was married to the president. And so she really went off on her own and was a great advocate for civil rights, really before FDR quite got it. And basically never looked back, and was very passionate and caring and conscientious, as I think my character Ellen Mitchell is, too.
You must have done a lot of research on these First Ladies.
Well, I had some great books. The production got me some great books, and there was a wonderful biography of Eleanor Roosevelt that had just come out. There's actually a lot of information about them. So,
how did you all arrive at the fashion look for your First Lady?
I'm so glad you asked that, because actually I put a lot of work into it. I talked to Anne Roth, who was the costume designer with whom I've done a lot of work. And we wanted to get away from the sort of suit look for the character, especially because she has some very tough scenes in the beginning. We didn't want anyone to think about Nancy Reagan and that kind of uniform. And I wanted to look like I was in real clothes that moved, that were soft and not suits. and that moved in the White House in those beautiful halls. So we actually did, I mean, not that anyone will care, but we wanted her to really look like a working First Lady and as someone who didn't care about the trappings of all of that.
And yet
So,
she has a couple of really glamorous outfits.
I must say.
Yes.
I don't know how those snuck in, but I didn't object.
I think one of the funniest scenes, and it's so well done, it's understated, but to me it's one of the funniest scenes, is when Kevin is in the shower. And she comes in, and of course he's the imposter, but she's, you know, pretending that he is the president. He was actually nude, totally nude.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Was that an embarrassing thing for either of you?
No, not really. I mean, I think it was probably awkward for Kevin because he's a classical actor and doesn't go around throwing his clothes off. But, you know, we're actors, and it's a movie set is actually, no one wants anyone to be embarrassed by that kind of thing. It's sort of, unfortunately or fortunately, part of the job. And it was only in The Master that he had to be completely naked. But we talked for a long time of what should I look down, and if I look down, what should be my response? And I think what we have actually is correct, because she sort of looks down and goes, oh, I can't think about that. I have this thing I want to say, you know. It's sort of like, for a second, well, never mind, that's impossible. And I'm not even sure what she saw. I mean, I can't remember really, but it would be hard to believe that, in fact, everything was completely identical. But the chances of it not being her husband are so absurd that why would she, I mean, it would be odd for her to go, you're not my husband. You know? I mean, that's kind of a different movie, a French movie, perhaps. So.
Well, anyway, this scene is beautifully played
good.
and beautifully directed, as is the entire movie. And I just think this film is going to do great for all of you.
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
And again, congratulations, and great to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Thanks.
It was actually a very hard scene.